What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of I Complain. Now, earlier today, I was doing something a little weird. I was watching me some good old-fashioned live-action anime. I was really trying to understand, the root of why live-action anime is so terrible. Why is it so bad? There's no way it could be that bad. But then I got to thinking, think of all the greats. The Dragon Ball, live action. Avatar The Last Airbender, live action. Death Note, live action. Ghost in Shell, live action. Bleach, live action. They've all been really, really bad. And why do you think that is? Well, I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you exactly why. All right? I think I got 4 reasons. 4 reasons why live action sucked. First and foremost, you have the source material. The source material usually being the manga or the anime from which the film is going to be adapted, right? The source material is really, really not something that should be adapted to a real-life scenario in any way, shape, or form, just because of what anime usually is. It's usually some really unbelievable nonsense that would be exceptionally pricey or way too complicated and convoluted to be meshed into the actual script, all right? So you say the source material of Avatar The Last Airbender, right? Remember the effects that they used, how awful they were? It was terrible. But if you looked at the TV show, it was amazing, all right? In comparison, it's not just some 5 dudes doing some weird stompy thing just to float a boulder slowly towards someone. It was some really complicated kung fu mixed in with the fighting that, came to be. It wasn't you do a bunch of kicks and then a flame from a fire randomly goes at someone, Adapting the source material for anime is ridiculously complicated. Look at Death Note, all right? Death Note is supposed to be a smart thriller. It's supposed to be psychological, man. What did they do to Death Note, all right? They made Light this kind of douchebag that's not really anything. He's not really that smart, and he's a douchebag, and he gets manipulated, and it's really, really stupid. And they made L just some really emotional, angry dude that acts impulsive, and that's just not who those characters are. It's literally stripping away everything about the character and just adding stuff in for the sake of it. Light could never be manipulated. He was the one manipulating people up until the very end when he was up against some people that were better than him. That's just pretty much the facts, right? As far as you can truly adapt the source material for an anime or a manga, and it will become something kind of weird. What was that? The one that just came out, Alita Battle Angel, right? That one it had the production value, it had everything going about it, and they pretty much followed the story to a T. But it wasn't really that good of a movie, and I think it's just because the length to which that series actually was. It was a really complicated thing that they tried to just compact into half an hour and a half, 2 hours of a movie, and you just can't really do that. It's not enough time to establish the relationships and the complexities of the world. But, they did have some decent fighting and animation, and they stayed true to the source material. But even when they did, it wasn't very, awesome. It didn't, jump out. It wasn't amazing. It was just a movie. It was a decent movie, because that's usually what animes and mangas are. They're decent for what they are. They're not really something that's made to be transitioned to the big picture, not by any means, honestly. Which is another part of it. The second reason, compacting. Right? For example, Avatar, right? They took books 1, 2, and I think 3, maybe books just 1 and 2. They compacted it into one movie. There was no development there. It was all just one movie really quickly. And just like Death Note compacted a large portion of the series into this tiny time slot, and then just kind of added their own ending to it that didn't make any sense, okay? They compacted what should be it should be spanned, if anything, between like 3 or 4 movies in total, just so that you can get an understanding for the character Light, his motivations, what he wants to do. He's not just some douchebag college student, all right? He's a complex dude with a god complex, okay? You know? And I'm going to go with reason number 3 here is going to be the translation, all right? When you translate, you guys know this, all right? If you watch English dub, okay, you watch English dub, you know this, okay? Because you'll be watching sub, right? And everything makes sense. The voices fit, the words fit, everything, it makes sense. Then you switch over to English dub, and all of a sudden, those things that they say make no goddamn sense, okay? Because the English language isn't like super silky, mystical about like, try again in 100 years. The English language is basically, fuck you, all right? That's the English language. So when you try to transition from sub to dub, it's just terrible. Just like when you try to transition from an anime manga into an English live action movie. It's gonna be bad, all right? If anything, I think Japanese, the Japanese do some live actions that are actually pretty decent. Or I could just be losing my mind, all right? It was a Tokyo Gore Police. That might be a standalone movie. But they also did Ichi the Killer, which was a really, really, really good adaptation, in my opinion, okay? And, you can't do an adaptation to an English language for not English stuff. Does that make sense? Because you have Avatar: The Last Airbender, which was just, okay, yeah, I mean, the things that they said, they were kind of naive and childish, just like the show, and it was English, so it wasn't too cringy. But then everything else was just terrible. They were just bad at the fighting, at the scenes. They rushed everything. The story made no sense. It was dumb. Okay? And let's go ahead and get to the last point of this. All right, I want to make this quick. All right, the last point is the acting. All right? You cannot get some A-list actor like Scarlett Johansson, all right, and tell her that she has to play this stoic, cold, like, beautiful character or something, and then expect anything other than her to do exactly what you told her to do, play that character. Because the Major is such a more complex character than that, all right? It's not just that she's a strong female character. It's so much more than that, and you can't just, do it without understanding the source material. And, she did say that she looked into it a little bit, but I highly doubt that she paid too much attention to this, because the character, the Major, is really complicated, just like with Light Yagami, all right? What did they do with him? They made the actor so awkward, and like there's points where he like attempts to be menacing, but this is like the last person on the planet you would ever feel threatened from, and it just doesn't translate very well. The translating, compacting source material acting doesn't translate very well. And I think that's why live action movies are always going to fail. Death Note was an abomination, right? The Dragon Ball movie was just, I hate Dragon Ball, but even Dragon Ball doesn't deserve such a poor representation like that. The Bleach one wasn't that bad. I will admit that I didn't get through it because, well, I'll be honest, Bleach is kind of boring, especially in those first couple episodes. But, as far as adaptations go, it wasn't that bad. Okay? Still, if you're going to make a live action adaptation of an anime, you really got to understand its source material. You got to give it the right amount of time. You got to translate things properly, or at least dumb them down for the audience, okay? Because a lot of the motivations for the characters don't make sense in the real world. And what a live action movie does is it translates those motivations into real things, right? Light wanted to take over the entire fucking world and start over as God. He wanted to make a perfect world. That sounds really cool in an anime, in a manga, right? Then you put it to actual pen and paper and try to make a character convey that. He's just going to come off as like just a generic white dude that is mad about his place in the world. And it just doesn't make sense, because Light's character was so much more complex than that. Yeah, it was pretty simple, but still, the character was complex. So in conclusion, what have we learned? Ladies and gentlemen, we've learned that if you are going to do a live action adaptation of anything, right? You really got to understand the source material, because if you don't, it's going to suck. And you really got to understand that you got to translate things properly, because if you don't, it's going to suck. And what you really, really got to understand is you can't just compact a whole 8 seasons into an hour and a half and expect it to be good, okay? Because you're going to have to cut a lot of things out. You're going to have to chop a lot of scenes and a lot of character development, which just doesn't work for anime or manga, which are long, really diverse about bringing out the characters to be who they really are. And the acting, you got to get your actors to understand what these characters are about, all right? You can't just tell an actor playing Naruto that Naruto was a lonely kid and now he wants to be the president, okay? Because that's not just his simplified character, right? That's not his whole character. That's not who he is as a person, you know? Even characters as straightforward and boring as like Saitama from the One Punch Man series still has some complexity to him. Now, if you told an actor, hey, this guy's just really, really strong, he beats everybody and he's kind of bored with it, it wouldn't really get to the depth of his character, because he's bored of it and he wants a challenge, and he like genuinely longs for a really good fight, someone that's his equal, a rival, so he can live out this fantasy of being a hero. But everybody that he fights, he instantly takes down, and it's morbid. So you really got to understand that if you're going to do it, all right? Just do it right. Now, as far as they go, Alita Battle Angel was a pretty true adaptation for a manga or an anime, and if you want to check it out, check it out. It's not too bad. What can I say? I didn't like the original, so I don't really like the anime adaptation. But at the time, I will say it's a good movie. It's a movie I'd watch again. It's a movie I'd watch plenty of times, just, not like back to back to back to back, and I wouldn't really want to look into it too much. But anyway, thanks for tuning in to an episode of I Complain, because apparently I'm trying to make that a thing now or something. I don't know, dude. Deuces.